Okay, so continuing on with adding integers. Today we're going to talk about adding zero pairs. So if we think about our definition of zero pairs, that was a positive and negative number that are the same distance from zero. So if you look at 4 plus negative 4, 4 and negative 4 are zero pairs because they're both 4 spots from zero, and one is positive and one is negative. So how many positives do we have? We're going to use our plus signs like we did prior. So we have 4 positives, and we're adding 4 negatives to that. So then we are going to cross out any positive sign and negative sign that match up. So we're going to cross out a pair, cross out a pair, cross out, and we're left with 0. So there are 0 numbers left, so your answer is 0. They kind of cancel each other out. So if we look down here at negative 3 plus 3, we have negative 3, adding 3 positives, cross out your 0 pairs, you're left with nothing. 5 plus negative 5, you have 5 positives, and you have 5 negatives. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with nothing. Then we have the practice. Negative 1 plus 1. We have 1 negative added to 1 positive. Cross it out, and we are left with 0. 2 plus negative 2. We have 2 positives and 2 negatives. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with 0. So if you notice, any positive plus a negative of the same numerical value, you're going to get 0. So 0 pairs, here we go. When you add a positive and a negative with the same numerical value, your answer will always be 0. So we have a positive 1 and a negative 1, it's going to equal 0. Positive 2, negative 2, it's going to equal 0. 3 plus negative 3, all of these are going to equal 0. Okay, so 0 pairs. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. How do I add integers with different signs? So we're first going to try this out using our positives and our negatives. So we have negative 3 plus 4. So how many negatives do I have? I have 3 negatives. How many positives do I have? I have 4 positives. I'm going to cross out my 0 pairs, so I am left with 1 positive. So what is your answer to negative 3 plus 4? It is positive 1. Okay, looking at the you-dos, we have negative 9 plus 2. So we have 9 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 2 positives. 9 negatives and 2 positives. Then we are going to cross out our 0 pairs. And we are left with 7 negatives. Next one, 7 plus negative 5. We're left with, we have 7 positives. 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cross out your 0 pairs, and we have 2 positives. Negative 2 plus 4. We have 2 negatives, 4 positives. Cross out your 0 pairs. We're left with 2 positives. Okay, let's try these. We have 3 negatives plus 8 positives. So 3 negatives, 8 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cross out your 0 pairs, and we're left with 5 positives. 10 plus negative 2, we have 10 positives. And then 2 negatives. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with 8 positives. 5 plus negative 6. We have 5 positives, and then we have 6 negatives. Crossing out your 0 pairs, we are left with 1 negative. Okay, go ahead and do the you do problems. Pause the video, and then when you are ready, you can hit play and we'll go over the answers. Okay, 2 plus negative 3. We have 2 positives, 3 negatives. Cross out your 0 pairs. You should be left with negative 1. Negative 7 plus 1. We have 7 negatives, 1 positive. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with 6 negatives. 8 plus negative 6. We have 8 positives, 6 negatives. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with 2 positives. So hopefully your answers matched up. Okay, but drawing those positives and negatives like we did before, when the numbers get higher, just gets to be really annoying. So we're going to come up with a rule. So the rule we have is circle the bigger number. Then instead of adding, we're actually going to subtract. And then we could use the sign of the circled number. Okay, so we have negative 4 plus 6. So let's first use our positive and negative signs to show you how this works. So we have 4 negatives, 6 positives. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you have an answer of positive 2. Okay, when we follow the rules listed above on the next problem, we should still end up with a positive 2. So your first step says circle the bigger number. So I'm looking at 4 and I'm looking at 6. 6 is my bigger number, so I'm going to circle it. Number 2 says subtract. So I'm going to subtract 6 minus 4 gives me 2. I'm going to use the sign of the circled number. So 6 is circled, which is positive, so that means 2 is going to stay positive. Okay? Then I have 14 plus negative 21. I am not going to sit here and add or draw 14 plus signs and then negative 21 signs. Not going to happen. So what I am going to do is follow my rules. I'm going to circle the bigger number, which is 21. I'm going to subtract 21 minus 14, which gives me 7. I'm going to use the sign of the circled number, which is 21, so that's negative, so my answer is going to be negative 7. Okay, we're going to keep practicing some more. So our rules are right there. Circle the bigger number, subtract, use the sign of the bigger numbers. So here we go. 7 plus negative 8. Circle the bigger number, subtract, use the sign of the bigger or circled number. So negative 8 is circled, so your answer is going to be negative 1. Then I'm going to do the one right next to it. 14 plus negative 3. Circle your bigger number. Subtract 14 minus 3 is 11. 14 is positive, so 11 is staying positive. Go ahead and answer the next two on your own. Pause the video, and then when you are ready, you can replay it. All right, so let's take a look. 33 plus negative 67. Circle your bigger number. Subtract. We get 34. 67's negative. 34 is going to be negative as well. Then we have negative 45 plus 10. Circle 45. Subtract, we end up with 35. And then we have negative 45 circled, so your answer is going to be negative 35. And we will stop